Hello everyone. I hope you all are doing well. I have a small request for you. Many of you watch our videos but haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Please subscribe, like, and share our content. Your support really motivates us to keep creating more videos. Thank you. I remember the smell first. Wet leaves and something old, like wood that had been rotting for years. It was one of those fall nights where the air feels heavier than it should, like it's pressing against your skin. I had just gotten back to the house after work, later than usual. The sun was already gone, and the street outside was almost completely empty. The porch light was off. That was the first thing that felt wrong. I always left it on. Always. It wasn't even something I thought about. It was just a habit. But that night, the front of the house was sitting in total darkness, blending in with the trees around it. I stood there for a second longer than I should have, staring at the door, trying to remember if I turned it off before I left. I couldn't. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe the bulb died. Maybe I was just tired. But when I stepped onto the porch, I noticed the door wasn't fully closed. It looked shut, but it wasn't latched. It moved slightly when the wind pushed against it, making this soft, slow creaking sound. Not loud, just enough to make you notice. That's when my chest started to feel tight. I lived alone. No one else had a key. I pushed the door open slowly, trying not to make noise, even though I didn't know why. The house was quiet. Too quiet. No TV, no hum of anything, not even the fridge. Just silence, and the faint sound of something shifting upstairs. I froze. At first, I thought it was the house settling. Old houses make sounds, especially in colder weather. That's what I told myself. But then it happened again. A slow, careful step. Like someone was trying not to be heard. And that's when I realized something that made my stomach drop. Whoever was inside knew I was home. I didn't call out. I don't know why, maybe I was afraid of hearing someone answer. I just stood there in the doorway, holding my breath, listening. The air inside felt colder than outside, like the house had been sitting open for hours. I reached for the light switch by the entrance and flipped it on. Nothing. The bulb hadn't died. The power was out. That made it worse. I pulled my phone out, turned on the flashlight, and stepped inside slowly. Every step felt louder than it should have, the wood creaking under my weight. I kept the light low, scanning the floor first, like I didn't want to see too much too quickly. The living room looked normal at first. Couch, table, everything in place. But then I noticed the window. It was open. Just a few inches, but enough for the curtains to move slightly with the wind. I never left windows open at night. Ever. My throat felt dry as I walked closer, checking the lock. It was undone. That's when I heard it again. A soft movement upstairs. Not just a step this time, more like something brushing against the wall. Slow, careful, controlled. I turned my flashlight toward the staircase. For a second, I thought I saw something move at the top. Not clearly, just a shape pulling back into the darkness. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. I took a step back without even thinking. I should have left right then. I know that now. But instead I stayed. I told myself maybe someone broke in and didn't expect me back yet. Maybe they were trying to hide. That thought made my skin crawl, but it also gave me something to hold on to, something that made sense. I whispered, "Hello." My voice sounded weak. Wrong. No answer. Just silence, and then a faint sound like a breath being held. I backed toward the kitchen, keeping the stairs in view. My hands were shaking now, so bad I could barely hold my phone steady. I needed something, anything to defend myself. I opened a drawer slowly, trying not to make noise, and grabbed the first thing I touched, a knife. That's when I noticed the back door. It was locked, still bolted from the inside. Whoever was here didn't leave that way. A thought hit me all at once, so fast it made me feel sick. They didn't just come in. They were still here waiting. And then my phone buzzed in my hand. I flinched so hard I almost dropped it. It was a message. No name. Just a number I didn't recognize. I stared at it for a second before opening it. "I can see you." My first instinct was to look around, like I could catch someone watching me in that exact second. The kitchen suddenly felt too open, too exposed. Every corner looked like it was hiding something. I typed back without thinking. "Who is this?" The reply came almost instantly. Even more. "Don't go upstairs." My eyes moved slowly toward the staircase again, the darkness at the top feeling heavier now, like it wasn't empty anymore. Like it was waiting. My phone buzzed again. "You weren't supposed to come home early." That's when something in my head clicked into place, and it made everything worse. This wasn't random. Whoever was in my house knew me. I felt it in my stomach before I even understood it. That sick, sinking feeling when something finally makes sense in the worst way possible. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely breathe. I tried to think, who knew my schedule? Who knew I'd be out late? Another message. I told you I'd come by this week. My heart dropped. It was someone I knew. Someone I had let inside before. Someone who didn't need to break in. Before I could even process it fully, I heard a step upstairs. Louder this time. Not careful anymore. Then another. They weren't hiding now. The sound of footsteps moved toward the top of the stairs, slow and deliberate. My body locked up. I couldn't move, couldn't even look away. A figure appeared at the top. I couldn't see their faces clearly, just the outline. But I didn't need to. I recognized the way they stood. The way they tilted their heads slightly, like they always did when they looked at me. My phone buzzed one last time. Now you see me. They started walking down. Each step made the wood creak louder, heavier, like the house itself was reacting to it. I raised the knife, but my hand didn't feel like mine anymore. Everything felt distant, slow, like I was watching it happen instead of living it. Halfway down the stairs, they stopped. And in that silence, I realized something even worse. They weren't in a rush. They knew I wasn't getting out. I don't remember deciding to run. My body just did it. The knife slipped out of my hand and hit the floor, the sound sharp and loud in the silence. That's what snapped something in me. I turned and rushed for the front door, my legs barely keeping up, like I was moving through water. Behind me I heard movement, faster now. Not calm anymore. I didn't look back. The door was still slightly open. I slammed into it, pushed it wide, and stumbled onto the porch, almost falling down the steps. Cold air hit my face, but it didn't calm anything. My chest felt like it was going to collapse. I kept running until I reached the street. That's when I finally turned around. They were standing in the doorway. Not chasing me. Not yelling. Just standing there, watching. The porch light suddenly flicked on behind them, and for a second, I saw their faces clearly. It was exactly who I thought it was. Someone I had trusted. Someone who had been inside this house before, sitting in that same living room like nothing was wrong. The police came later. I don't even remember calling them, but I must have. They searched the house, took my statement, and asked me questions I could barely answer. They didn't find anything. No signs of forced entry. No fingerprints they could use. Nothing missing. Just one thing. My spare key was gone. I don't go back there anymore. I left almost everything behind. Clothes, furniture, even things that actually mattered. It didn't feel like mine after that night. It felt like something had been taken from it, or maybe something had been left behind. I couldn't tell which one was worse. People kept asking me why they didn't hurt me. Why did they just stand there watching? I don't have an answer for that. Sometimes I think they wanted me to see them, to understand who it was before anything else happened. And I did. That's the part that stays with me. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't some random break-in. It was someone who knew how to get in, knew where things were, knew I'd hesitate instead of running right away. Someone who knew I'd try to make sense of it before reacting. Someone who counted on that. I still think about the messages. The way they texted me from inside my own house, like they were in control the entire time. Like I was the one who didn't belong there anymore. I changed my number after that, but it didn't really help. Sometimes late at night, I still feel that same tightness in my chest for no reason. Like something is off, even when everything looks normal. And every once in a while, I catch myself wondering something I don't like to admit. If I hadn't come home early that night, how long would they have stayed? I remember the sound of the leaves outside my window that night. Dry, constant, like something moving through them over and over again. At first, I thought it was just the wind. Fall always sounded like that where I lived. Trees everywhere, branches scraping against each other, leaves dragging across the ground. But this was different. It didn't stop. I was sitting on my bed, scrolling on my phone, trying to ignore it. My parents were out of town for the weekend, and I had the house to myself. It was supposed to feel good, quiet, peaceful. But the longer I sat there, the more the silence inside the house started to feel wrong. Too empty. That sound outside kept going. Not loud, just steady. Like footsteps that didn't want to be noticed. I got up and walked over to the window, pushing the curtain aside just a little. The backyard was dark, only lit by the faint glow of the neighbor's porch light. Leaves covered everything, moving slightly across the grass. I didn't see anyone. Still, something didn't feel right. I stayed there for a few seconds, staring, waiting for my eyes to adjust. That's when I noticed the gate. It was open. Just slightly, but enough to stand out. We always kept it locked. My dad was strict about that, especially at night. I remember him checking it twice before leaving earlier that day. I felt this slow, heavy feeling settle in my chest. Maybe he forgot. Maybe I was overthinking. But then I noticed something else. The leaves weren't just moving randomly. There was a path, a faint line through the yard where the leaves had been pushed aside, leading from the gate straight toward the back of the house. Toward me. And right below the window, just out of sight, something shifted. I stepped back from the window, so fast I almost tripped over the edge of my bed. My heart was beating harder now, loud enough that it felt like it filled the whole room. I stood there, staring at the curtain, waiting to see if something would move again. Nothing did. For a few seconds, I just listened. That same soft dragging sound came back, but slower now, closer. It wasn't circling the yard anymore. It was right under the window. I reached for my phone and turned off the screen, like the light might give me away. I don't even know why I thought that, but it felt important. Everything felt too visible all of a sudden. Then my phone buzzed in my hand. I froze. It was a message from an unknown number. "Why did you move away?" My throat went dry instantly. I stared at the screen, reading it over and over like it might change into something normal. It didn't. Another message came through before I could even think. I was standing right there. A cold wave ran through me, starting at the back of my neck and moving down my spine. My eyes slowly shifted toward the window again. I didn't go closer this time. I just stood there, a few steps back, staring at the curtain like something might push through it at any second. I typed, my fingers shaking. "Who is this?" There was a pause this time, just long enough to make it worse. Then, "You don't recognize me?" That hit was different. That wasn't random. That meant something. My mind started going through people without me even trying, friends, neighbors, anyone who had ever been in this house. None of it felt right. Then I heard something downstairs. A soft sound, like the back door opening slowly, carefully. My entire body locked up. I knew I locked that door. I remembered doing it after my parents left. I even checked it twice because I knew I'd be alone. Another sound followed. A quiet step. Then another. They weren't outside anymore. They were inside. My breathing got shallow fast. I backed toward my bedroom door, trying not to make noise, my eyes fixed on the hallway outside. Every instinct in my body was telling me to run, but my legs wouldn't move fast enough. My phone buzzed again. This time, I didn't want to look. But I did. "I'm coming up." The first step on the stairs was slow. Not loud. Just enough to make the wood creak in a way I had heard 1,000 times before. That familiar sound made it worse. It meant they weren't rushing. They were taking their time. I backed into my room and pushed the door almost closed, leaving just a small gap. I don't know why I didn't lock it. My hands weren't working right. Nothing felt connected anymore. Another step. Closer. I could see the shadow now, stretching across the hallway floor through the crack in the door. It moved slightly with each step, growing longer as they got closer. My phone buzzed again, and I flinched so hard I hit the wall behind me. "Don't hide." I pressed my hand over my mouth, trying to keep my breathing quiet, but it didn't matter. They already knew where I was. The footsteps stopped right outside my door. For a second, everything went completely still. Then the handle moved. Slowly. Not forced. Not shaking. Just a calm, steady turn like they had all the time in the world. The door pushed open a few inches. I stepped back, my legs hitting the side of my bed. I couldn't see their face at first, just their shoulder, their arm, something familiar about the way they stood. I saw them. Then they leaned slightly. My stomach dropped so hard it felt like I was going to be sick. It was someone I knew. Someone who had been here before. Someone who had laughed in this house, sat at our table, talked to my parents like nothing was wrong. They looked at me like I was the one out of place. My phone buzzed one last time in my hand. "I missed you." They took a step inside. I grabbed the first thing I could reach, a lamp, and threw it toward them. It shattered against the wall, buying me a second, maybe less. I ran. I pushed past them, feeling their hand brush my arm for just a moment. Slow, deliberate, like they weren't even trying to stop me. And that's what made it worse. They could have. But they didn't. I didn't stop running until I was out the front door. I don't even remember unlocking it. One second I was in the hallway. The next I was outside, barefoot on the cold ground, my chest burning like I couldn't get enough air. I kept moving across the yard, into the street, not caring who saw me. I turned once. The front door was open. They were standing just inside, half hidden in the dark. Not chasing me. Not even stepping forward. Just watching, the same way they had upstairs, calm, patient, like this wasn't over. I stayed outside until the neighbors noticed. Someone came over, asking questions I couldn't answer. I just kept shaking, pointing at the house, trying to explain something that didn't make sense even in my own head. The police showed up not long after. They checked everything. The doors, the windows, the backyard gate. They kept asking how someone got in, but nothing looked forced. No broken locks, no damage, nothing missing. Just small things. The back door unlocked. The gate was left open, and muddy footprints leading through the house, stopping right outside my bedroom. They asked me if I knew who it was. I said yes. But when they asked me to explain why someone I knew would do something like that, I didn't have an answer. I don't stay alone in that house anymore. Even when my parents came back, even when everything was checked and safe, I couldn't sleep there the same way. Every sound felt like it meant something. Every quiet moment felt like it was hiding something underneath it. They asked me again later who I thought it was. I gave them the name. I had to, but nothing really came from it. No proof, no reason, nothing solid enough to explain why someone would come into our house like that, and then just walk away. That's the part one can't stop thinking about. They didn't try to stop me. Not really. When I ran past them, I felt their hand touch my arm, but it wasn't tight. It wasn't desperate. It was light, almost careful, like they were letting me go. Sometimes I wonder if they planned it that way. If the whole thing wasn't about hurting me, but about making sure I knew something. Something I still don't fully understand. Because after that night, I started noticing things I hadn't before. How often they used to come over. How comfortable they were in our house. How easily they moved through it, even in the dark. And now, every time I hear leaves moving outside at night, I don't think it's the wind anymore. I think it's someone who already knows the way in. I remember the first thing that felt wrong wasn't even inside the house. It was the parking lot. It was late autumn, one of those nights where everything looks the same shade of gray under streetlights. I had just finished my shift at the warehouse, and I was tired in that heavy way where your body moves slower than your thoughts. Most of the cars were already gone. Only a few were left scattered near the exit, including mine at the far end. I noticed my truck right away, but something about it didn't look right. At first I thought it was just the angle or the light. But the closer I walked, the more that feeling settled in my stomach. The driver's door wasn't fully closed. Not wide open, just slightly pushed out, like someone hadn't bothered to shut it properly. I stopped a few steps away. I always lock it. Always. It was a habit after a break-in at my old apartment years ago. I even checked it twice before going inside for work. I remember doing it that morning. The parking lot was empty enough that I could hear my own breathing. No music from nearby cars, no footsteps, nothing. Just wind moving through the half-empty space, dragging dry leaves across the concrete. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe I forgot. Maybe I was just exhausted. But then I saw something on the ground next to my truck. A small plastic card. My access badge. The one I had worn inside the warehouse all day. I bent down slowly to pick it up, already feeling my chest tighten, but before my fingers touched it, I noticed something else. The dirt around my tires wasn't just disturbed. There were footprints. Fresh ones. And they didn't walk away from my truck. They circled it. I stood there for a few seconds just staring at those footprints, like if I looked long enough they would make sense. But they didn't. They were fresh, clear, cutting through the thin layer of dirt, like someone had been pacing around my truck again and again. My chest started to feel tight. I picked up my access badge slowly, my fingers suddenly feeling stiff. It was cold, like it had been sitting on the ground for a while. I turned it over in my hand, expecting scratches, maybe dirt, something normal. But the magnetic strip had a faint scuff mark across it, like it had been swiped somewhere. My eyes moved back to the truck door, still slightly open. I took a slow step forward and looked inside through the gap. The cabin light wasn't on, but I could still see enough. Everything looked almost normal. My jacket was on the passenger seat, a water bottle in the cup holder. My lunch bag is on the floor. But something felt off in the way it was arranged, like someone had been inside it and tried too hard to put things back the way they were. My hands were shaking now. I pulled the door open fully. The smell hit me first. Not strong, but enough to notice. Like someone had been sitting there for a long time without moving. I leaned in slightly, checking the dashboard, the floor, under the seats. That's when I saw it. A small piece of paper tucked into the corner of the windshield. My name was written on it. Not printed. Written by hand. I froze for a second before reaching for it. Behind me, somewhere in the empty parking lot, I heard a sound. Metal shifting. Not loud. Just a soft clink, like a chain or a tool being set down. I turned around fast. Nothing. Just rows of empty spaces and flickering lights above. I told myself it was another worker leaving something behind. A maintenance guy. Security maybe. But my body didn't believe it. My instincts were screaming at me to leave, but I still pulled the paper out of the windshield. One line was written on it. You always check the truck before you leave. My stomach dropped. Because I did. Every single time. My hands went cold as I realized something I hadn't noticed before. The driver's seat headrest was slightly tilted forward. Like someone had been sitting behind it, watching the exit. And then my phone vibrated in my pocket. My phone vibrating almost made me drop the paper. I didn't even want to look at the screen. I already knew it wasn't something normal. My thumb still moved on its own, like my body was faster than my thoughts.
Don't turn around.
Unknown number. My throat went dry instantly. The parking lot suddenly felt different. Not louder, just more aware. Like the silence had weight now. I kept my eyes forward, locked on the empty rows of cars, but I could feel it behind me. Not a sound exactly. More like pressure. Like someone standing just far enough away to not make noise. My grip on the truck door tightened. I forced myself to stay still. Another vibration. You're doing it right. That made my skin go cold. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't want to know. Slowly, I let my eyes drift toward the side mirror of the truck. At first, I didn't see anything unusual. Just the empty lot behind me, flickering lights, long shadows stretching across the ground. Then I noticed it. A shape. Standing between two parked cars. Not moving. Just there. My breath stopped in my throat. I couldn't see details clearly, just enough to understand it was facing me. Watching me. Waiting for me to notice. My phone vibrated again. If you turn around, you'll mess it up. My hands started shaking harder. I wanted to run. I wanted to slam the door and drive away immediately. But something about the way it was written, the certainty in it, made me hesitate. Like I was already part of something I didn't understand. Then the shape moved. Not toward me. Just a small shift to the side. Like it was stepping out from behind the cars, giving me a clearer view. And that's when I saw something that made my stomach twist completely. It wasn't a stranger. It was someone I recognized from work. Someone who knew my shifts. My habits. My routine. Someone who definitely knew I always checked my truck before leaving. And right then, I realized the worst part. They weren't surprised I noticed them. They were waiting for me to understand. I backed away from the truck, so fast I hit the side mirror with my shoulder. The metal pane snapped something in me, like it pulled me out of that frozen moment. I turned and started walking, then fast walking, then running toward the exit of the lot. I didn't look back. Not once. My phone kept buzzing in my pocket, but I didn't answer. I couldn't. My breathing was loud in my ears, like it was the only thing real anymore. The parking lot felt longer than it should have, every step dragging me further away from my truck, from whatever was happening back there. When I finally reached the street, I stopped under a streetlight and turned around. The lot was still there. Empty. Too empty. No movement between the cars. No shadow. No sign of anyone following me. I stood there for a long time, waiting for something to make sense. My hands were still shaking, my keys digging into my palm without me noticing. I called the police from there. They came quickly, checked the area, and talked to security. I showed them the note, the badge, everything I had. They searched the parking lot, the truck, even the cameras. They said there was no one there. No sign of forced entry. No clear footage of anyone standing between the cars. Nothing that showed a person close enough to my truck to do any of it. Just me. And my truck. And the footprints that somehow stopped halfway across the lot, like whoever made them had never actually left the shadows. I didn't go back to that job. I told them I needed time, but really I just never showed up again. I couldn't face that parking lot, or that truck, or the feeling of knowing someone had been close enough to watch me without me noticing until it was too late. The police eventually closed it as unconfirmed suspicious activity. No suspect. No evidence strong enough to follow. Just my word, a note, and a security camera feed that kept cutting out in the exact spots I needed answers. That part still bothers me the most. The missing seconds. The blind spots. The way everything seemed normal when they checked it, like nothing had ever happened there at all. Sometimes I replay it in my head. Standing there by the truck, reading that note, feeling like I was part of something I didn't understand yet. Like I was following instructions without even realizing it. and I think about how easy it was for them to know me. My routine. My habits. The way I always checked the truck before leaving. The way I always hesitated for just a second before locking the door. Small things. Things you don't think matter until someone else uses them against you. Now, whenever I leave anywhere at night, I still catch myself doing the same thing. Checking the doors. Checking the mirrors. Checking the space behind me. And I hate that part most of all. Because sometimes it feels like they never really stopped watching. They just stopped making it obvious. I still remember the sound of the elevator that night. That slow, tired mechanical groan, like it didn't really want to move anymore. I was stuck inside it alone, heading up to the 7th floor after a long shift at the hospital. It was already past midnight, and the building was mostly empty. The kind of quiet that feels too clean, too controlled. I had taken that same elevator hundreds of times. It was always boring, always predictable. But that night felt different the moment the doors closed. The light inside flickered once. Just a small blink, nothing dramatic, but enough to make me look up. I remember telling myself it was normal. Old building. Late at night. Power fluctuations. Still my stomach felt uneasy. The elevator started moving, slow at first, then steady. Floors passed on the little screen above the doors. 2, 3, 4. And then it stopped. Not on the floor. Just stopped between levels. The lights didn't go out. The music didn't cut off. Everything stayed on, but the movement just ended. Like the building had decided not to go any further. I pressed the button for my floor again. Nothing. Then I pressed the emergency button. Still nothing. That's when I noticed something that made my chest tighten. The floor indicator wasn't changing anymore. It was frozen. But the elevator wasn't silent. Because from somewhere above me, I could hear footsteps. Not fast. Not random. Slow. Measured. Like someone was walking on the roof of the elevator. I told myself that was impossible. But then the sound stopped. And right above my head, something heavy shifted, like it had stopped right where I was. I stood there for a few seconds, staring at the ceiling like I could see through it if I focused hard enough. My hands felt cold, even though the air inside the elevator wasn't. It was just still. Too still. I pressed the buttons again. 7th floor. Open doors. Emergency. Nothing responded. No beep, no light change, no sound at all. It was like the panel had stopped listening to me completely. Then the footsteps came back. Same place above me. Same slow pace. Not walking now, just shifting slightly like someone adjusting their weight while standing still. My throat tightened. I took a step back and hit the wall of the elevator without meaning to. The metal felt colder than it should have. I told myself it had to be something mechanical. Pipes. Maintenance. Old building sounds that my tired brain was turning into something worse. But then I noticed something that broke that thought immediately. The emergency intercom light flickered. Once. Then stayed on. I reached for it, hesitated for half a second, then pressed it. A faint crackle came through the speaker. Nothing clear. Just static. Then a voice. Low. Almost buried under the noise. Still inside? My body went completely still. I didn't answer. I couldn't tell if it was even directed at me. The footsteps above stopped again. Right above my head. Perfectly aligned with where I was standing. I slowly looked up, my breathing getting shallow without me controlling it. The ceiling panel looked normal. Flat. Seamless. Just metal and faint reflections from the elevator light. But I couldn't stop imagining something crouched above it. Listening. Another sound came, closer this time. Not footsteps. Scraping. Like something shifting its position right over the thin layer of metal separating me from it. I backed away slowly, eyes locked upward, until my shoulder hit the opposite wall again. The speaker crackled once more. This time the voice was clearer. You're not supposed to stop there. My chest tightened. Stop where? I whispered before I could stop myself. The static grew louder, then softened again. And then, very clearly, the voice said, between floors. At that exact moment, the elevator jolted slightly downward. Not moving properly. Just enough to make my stomach drop. And above me, something moved closer to the ceiling panel. The elevator dropped again, just a few inches, like it was testing whether I was still there. My knees bent slightly from the sudden shift, and I grabbed the railing hard to keep myself steady. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then stayed on, but dimmer than before. The scraping above my head stopped completely. I stood frozen, staring at the ceiling panel, waiting for something, anything, to happen. My whole body felt locked in place, like moving would make it real. Then the panel shifted. Not fully opening. Not breaking. Just lifting slightly at one corner. Like something was pressing against it from above. My breath stopped. A thin gap appeared, barely visible at first. Then a shadow filled it. Not falling in, not dropping down, just leaning into the space between the ceiling and whatever was above it. I stumbled back instinctively, my shoulder hitting the wall again. My hand fumbled for the emergency button, but I had already pressed it before. It did nothing. The speaker crackled again, but no voice came this time. Just static, and then a sound that didn't belong to the system. Breathing. Close. Controlled. Right above me. The ceiling panel shifted a little more, and then I saw it. A hand. Fingers curling over the edge of the panel from above, gripping it slowly, like it was making sure it didn't slip. My mind stopped for a second. It didn't feel real. It felt like something my brain was refusing to process properly. Then a second hand appeared, and the panel lowered just enough for me to see part of an arm. Not rushing, not breaking in, just lowering itself into my space like it belonged there. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't even look at it. A voice came, but not through the speaker this time. Directly above me. Soft. Calm. You shouldn't have taken this elevator. The panel tilted again, and for a split second, I saw part of a face looking down through the gap. Not fully exposed. Just enough to know it was watching me the entire time I had been stuck here. I don't remember deciding to move, but my body did it anyway. I hit the elevator control panel, slamming every button I could reach. Floors, doors, alarm, anything. My fingers were shaking so badly I barely hit them right, but suddenly the elevator jolted again. This time it actually moved. Down. Fast. The sudden motion threw me slightly off balance, and I grabbed the railing again, eyes locked on the ceiling panel. The hands above didn't come through. They just stayed there, holding the edge, like they were deciding whether to follow. The voice didn't speak again. Only that silence. Heavy and waiting. The elevator finally slowed, then stopped with a hard jolt that made my teeth click together. The doors stayed closed for a second too long, like the system was thinking. Then they opened. The hallway outside was bright. Normal. Empty. Too normal. I didn't wait. I ran. I don't even know where I was running to at first, just away from that elevator, away from the idea that something had been right above me the whole time, listening, watching, choosing when to show itself. Behind me, I heard the elevator doors close again. Slowly. Like nothing had ever happened inside it. I stopped only when I reached the stairwell exit and slammed the door shut behind me. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely stand still long enough to catch my breath. Hospital staff found me there a few minutes later. I tried to explain, but the words didn't come out right. Maintenance checked the elevator. They said it was empty. No one is above it. No access to the top. Just a normal system running like it always had. After that night, I stopped taking that elevator. Even now, I take the stairs no matter how tired I am. People joke about it sometimes, like it's just anxiety or stress from long shifts. I never correct them. It's easier that way. The hospital did their checks. They said the elevator system was fine. No access panels were open. No maintenance issues. No recorded malfunctions at the time I got stuck. On paper, nothing happened at all. But I know what I saw. And worse than that, I know what saw me. That's the part one can't explain properly to anyone. It wasn't just fear of being stuck. It felt intentional. Like I wasn't accidentally trapped there. Like I was placed there long enough for something to notice me. Sometimes I still hear elevator sounds when I'm alone. Not in the hospital, anywhere. A soft mechanical hum, doors closing, that same slow movement. And for a second, my body reacts before my mind does. Like it remembers before I do. I tell myself it was just a person. A maintenance worker. Someone hiding in a place they shouldn't have been. But that doesn't explain the voice. Or the way it spoke like it already knew me. Or how the system worked perfectly for everyone else, except for those exact minutes I was inside. And I think about what it said most of all. You shouldn't have taken this elevator. Not a warning. More like a rule I broke without knowing it existed. Now every time I hear an elevator door open behind me, I don't turn around right away. I wait a second first. Just in case something else is still deciding whether I'm supposed to leave or not.